Afternoon everyone. So today's session will go for the next topic, that is on code generation, and it is an last topic in your module 5. So all of you know that there are different phases of the compilers are there, like lexical analysis phase, syntax analysis phase, then you are having an semantic analysis phase, then intermediate representation, then code optimization, finally the code generator. So we are in the last phase. I think almost all you have studied except the code optimization phase. So here all of you know that previous session I told you about what is a front end. So usually your compiler is divided into a front end and the back end compiler design. So the front end will involve the first 4 phases of your compiler, that is an lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, and the intermediate representation. Then next to that one, code optimization and the code generator comes under the back end. Okay, so whatever the source program is there, that will be given to the front end. That means all the 4 phases are over, and what you are getting is an intermediate representation. So already you know what is an intermediate representation. So intermediate representation can be either an DAG, or it can be an syntax tree, or it can be an 3 address code, or it can be an postfix notation, or it can be an any of the byte code. So that is an intermediate representation. So then we will give it to the code optimizer. So output of code optimizer is also an intermediate representation only. So but some of the optimizations will be undone. Some of the whatever we can say, that some of the extra things are whichever is not required, so that will be removed, so that we will get a faster machine code. So then that will be given to the code generator. So now we are studying about this code generator, that is the last phase of your compiler. There are 3 main tasks of your code generator. Those are nothing but the instruction selection, register allocation and assignment, and the instruction ordering. So I'll explain you in detail all these 3. Okay, so these are the main 3 tasks. So as usual, what is the instruction selection? So what type of the instructions we are selecting in order to generate the target code or the machine code, that also is very important. How we are generating the instructions, so that there should not be any of the redundancy should not be there, and we should get an code that is ready for a faster execution, and it should be an efficient. So how we are selecting the instructions for generation of an target code, that is an important one. And register allocation means which value has to be stored in which particular registers. So that is nothing but an register allocation. Then finally the instruction ordering is nothing but in which sequence we need to execute the instructions, so that we will get a faster code. So these are the main 3 tasks of your code generator. We will study all these things in detail. So before that one, come to the different issues that are involved in the design of an code generator. The different issues that are involved in the design of your code generator. The first issue here is the input to the code generator. So as I told you, what is an input to the code generator? It is nothing but the intermediate representation, or a optimized intermediate representation. If this phase is not there, it is just an intermediate representation. If this phase it is there, then it is a optimized intermediate representation, is nothing but the input to the code generator. So what is an input to the code generator? It is nothing but an code optimized intermediate representation, or simply a intermediate representation. So what is this intermediate representation? So you may have that intermediate representation as a 3 address code. So last session I told you about how to generate the 3 address code. How to generate the 3 address code already have explained you. So that 3 address code can be implemented by using an quadruple or a triple, or it can be implemented by using an indirect triple. So either it can be a quadruple, or it can be a triple, or it can be an indirect triple. Okay, or it can be a byte code, or also it can be a postfix notation, or it can be a syntax tree, or an directed acyclic graph. These 2 also we have studied, and all these 3 also we have studied. Okay, so how to construct the syntax tree and how to construct the directed acyclic graph, that also I have explained you, that they are all the intermediate representation. Okay, so that will be the input to the code generator. So either it will be an 3 address code representation, or it can be a syntax tree, or it can be a DAG. So that is the input to the code generator. So along with this intermediate representation, it also have the interaction with what is this? The symbol table. So from the beginning phases, I am telling you about the symbol table. So it is nothing but one of the data structure where the information about the different variables, like any variable, if I am having in a source program, so then what is its data type, what is its name, where it is stored, and what is its life scope, all the information about that variable. And so any procedure call if you are doing, then what is the name of that procedure, what is its return data type, and what are the different arguments you are having, what are the type of the argument that you are having, and what it is returning. So all the information about that procedure call, everything will be stored in your symbol table. So this code generator will consider this intermediate representation along with all the information that are stored in the symbol table about all the variables, constants, and different procedure calls. All the informations it will consider in order to generate the target code or the assembly code. Already I told you many times, and also along with the symbol table, it will also handle the errors. So errors are usually semantic, and syntax errors will be usually determined in the previous phases only. So, but some of the errors may be detected in this particular code generator phase also. So what is the output of this code generator? Either it can be a target code, that is a machine code, sequence of zeros and ones, or it can be an assembly code. Suppose if it is an assembly code, then again this one will be given to what? Assembler. Again this one will be given to the assembler, that will generate you the machine code. Okay. So otherwise, if it can be directly the target code also, then if it is a target code, then you can have an absolute machine code, or you can have a relocatable machine code. Either it will be an absolute machine code, or it can be a relocatable machine code. So this is the output of your code generator. So what is the output of your code generator? Either it will be a target code, or it can be assembly code. If it is an assembly code, it will be given to the assembler, so that finally the machine code will be generated. Or directly it can be a machine code. Again, in that machine code, two types are there. One is an absolute machine code, and the other one is an relocatable machine code. Then what is this absolute machine code? Absolute machine code is the one where all your object code will be stored in a continuous memory location. Or you can say it is just a static memory allocation. So whatever the object code or the target code you are getting, everything will be stored in a continuous memory location, and immediately the execution will be undone. No need of giving it to the linker to link it and all the thing. Whereas you come to the relocatable machine code, so this is just like here you may have some object code for the some sub problem. Here you may have an object code for some sub problem. Somewhere you may have an object code for some other sub problem. So in this case, every entire object code is stored in a continuous memory location, and it will be executed at once immediately. So whereas in this case, the object code of different sub problems will be stored in a different memory location, and here you can use a dynamic memory allocation also. So and here you need to provide this one to the linker, so that this function calls this may call this output of, so all these things has to be happen, no? So before you will be complete your execution, that all the that is different sub problems has to be linked together. So all these things need to be done in the relocatable machine code. Okay. But one of the advantage of an relocatable machine code is that suppose if this sub problem finishes its execution, then I can use this particular memory for an other purpose. The disadvantage of this absolute machine code is that unless the complete program is executed, I cannot reuse the memory location. So it is fixed. Okay. But in case of a relocatable machine code, suppose if I am having a very big application, some sub problem is stored here, some module is stored here, some module is stored in a different memory location. If the execution of this module is over, means I can use this one for the other applications also. So that is an advantages of a machine code. So this is the output of your code generator. So output can be either absolute machine code or a relocatable machine code, or it can be an assembly code. If it is an assembly code, then it has to be an again it has to be given to the assembler, so that the assembler will convert that one into the finally the machine code. Anyhow, you are studying this one in the first module and the second module. So that is the first issue, that what will be involved in the design of your code generator. So next issue that what we have dealing with, that is the the second issue that is involved in the code generator is the target program. Already I told you about a target program. So first issue is nothing but what is the input for your code generator. So it can be either 3 address code, whatever I told. So that is the input to the code generator. And the second issue that is involved in the design of the code generator is what is the target program instruction set you are using. The instruction set architecture what you are using in order to generate the machine code, either it can be on RISC or it can be on CISC. And this is RISC and this is they are having their own properties also. Suppose if I am using a CISC instructional set architecture, then this CISC instructional set architecture is having an many of the addressing modes, but very few registers are available, and usually it will use at most of the 2 operands in each of the instructions. You cannot use a 3 operands in each of the instructions, and registers, number of the registers available is also very less. But many of the addressing modes are supported by the CISC, and when compared to if I am going for the RISC, then the simple addressing modes are available when compared to the CISC, whereas the number of the registers are the more in case of the RISC, and also maximum you can use 3 operands in each of the instruction. And what is the target program? That is about the instruction set architecture what you can use. What I said is, so that is, you remember, you can have LD of A R0 also, or you can use move A R0 also, like that. If that is the case, then 3 operand it is a RISC, or you can use the 2 operand, that is an CISC. So like that you will be having a different instruction set architectures. Okay, instruction set architecture. You are getting my point. Suppose if I am using load of A to the R0, CISC. RISC means I can use move this A R0 like this. Okay, it all depends upon which instruction set architecture you are using. Okay, either it can be on this or it can be on this. And come to what is your target program. Just now what I told, it can be an either assembly code generator, or it can be an absolute machine code, or it can be an relocatable machine code. Just now I explained. So those are the different target programs what you can have as the output of your code generator. Now come to the third issue, that is very important. Third issue, that is an instruction selection. So instruction selection is nothing but for an given intermediate representation, how better you are writing your set of instructions. Okay, how you are selecting your instruction set. So for example, this I'll explain you with example. Suppose if I am having any of the instructions like an x is equal to and y plus z. Okay, so then for this, what this is, what it's a 3 address code representation, correct or not? This is nothing but a intermediate representation. 3 address code representation if I'll consider, then what is an set of the instructions I can write it for this one. So it is load, okay, it is load y to R0. This is source and this is a destination. So this is source and this is the destination. So first one is the destination. Then what I can do after this one, add, I am adding y with a z. So where is your y? Y is in the R0. Y is in the R0. So it is, I am adding R0. Okay, I am adding R0. This is what? Source. This is what? Destination. I am adding R0 and the Z, and I am storing it in the R0. We are storing it in the R0. So what I am doing here, I am adding whatever is there in the R0. What was there? Y. And Z I am adding. Result is stored back into the R0. So add. Then store, then store. So store means it is what will be stored, where is the result, where it need to be stored. So it has to be stored in the X. Okay. So that is about the instruction set what we have selected for this particular 3 address code representation. All of you know that what the load will do, whatever the value is there in the memory location, that will be stored in the register. Load, what it will do, whatever is there in the memory location, that will be stored in the register. Store, what it will do, store whatever is there in the register, that will be stored in the memory location. So all of you may be knowing what is the difference, because already I have studied 8086 and all, that is in the microprocessor MUPI. Okay, so load will store whatever is there in the memory location to the register. The store will store whatever is there in the register into the memory location. Variable is nothing but we are storing the information in some memory location. So this is how we will be selecting the instructions for this particular 3 address code representation. Okay, now we will consider one more example, that is A is equal to an B plus C and D is equal to an A plus E, something if I am having. So then what is the set of the instructions you will write? This is again, it is a 3 address code. So how I will write it using an instruction set. So same instruction set, if I will try to use it, is initially load. Which one I will load? So B. Load means what? Memory location to the register. So I am storing it in the R0. Then I will add it. Whatever is there in the R0. What is there? B, I am adding it with the C. The result I am again storing it in the R0. Then again I need to store that one in the A. So it is ST. So register to memory location, store. Okay. Now I'll do for this. So when I'll do for this, again it is LD of. So A, I am storing it into the register. Okay. A, I am storing it into the register. Then this I am storing it into the R0. Then add whatever is there in the R0 with E, store the result back to the R0. Finally, store whatever is there in the R0 to the D. So what I did, these 3 instructions is for this. This 3 instruction is for this. Okay. Now, is it is the better instruction set what I have selected? No. Why? So here there is an redundancy is there. So what I am doing in these 2 instructions, so whatever is there in the R0, okay, I am storing it in a memory location A. Again whatever is there in the memory location A, I am storing back it into the register R0. Means what I have done? Nothing I have done. So initially it was in the register, I stored it back to the memory location. Again from that memory location, I stored it back to the same register. So what is the necessary of these 2? So these are 2 are the redundant information are the redundant instructions what we are having. So instead of this one, simply I can write that the LD of, that is I can leave those 2 instructions and I can write the other 4 instruction that will also do the same thing. Okay, this will also do the same thing what the previous set of the instruction was doing. So that's what I told you, that selection of the instruction set is also very, very important. So simply it's a waste of time. Okay, but here I'll get a faster executable code. Okay, because there is a redundancy. Simply I am storing something in from the register to memory location and from again memory location to the same register. No use of that one. So instead of that, I can avoid those 2 instructions and I can write this one. Okay, like that the selection of the instruction set is also very important. Now consider one more example. So that is an A is equal to an A plus 1. A is equal to an A plus 1. So how to will do this one? So that is LD. So whatever is there, load it into that. A will be unloaded. Then what I will do, add. So what to add? So R0 I need to add it to the constant value. Whenever I am writing a constant value, this symbol it has to be an written. Hash has to be an written. What is this hash represent? It represents that it is a constant. So to the A I am adding 1. Result is stored back to the R0 and again store that to the A. Memory location A. I am storing it back to the memory location. So for this I have written this 3 set of the instruction. But simply instead of writing all of them, if that machine support the instruction like an INC of an A, you write better this one. Why we are writing this unnecessarily the different instructions? Okay, so suppose if machine is supporting this increment operator or instruction, then use this one. Why you are writing this one? So that is what I told. Selection of the instructions is also very important when you will be translating your intermediate representation to the code generation. Okay, so instead of this, if I'll write, then I'll get an faster executable machine code compared to this faster executable machine code, compared to this faster executable machine. So that is what I told you, that you should go for a better set of the instructions so that I'll get a faster executable machine code. Now we will move on to the fourth issue. These are the different issues what you are having in the design of your code generator. The first one is the input to the code generator, and the second one is nothing but the target program. I told you about what is the input. Either the input will be an 3 address code, or it can be an symbol syntax tree, or it can be an DAG, or it can be bytecode, it can be an postfix notation. And target program can be an assembly code, relocatable machine code, or absolute machine code. Now I already in previous example I showed you the selection of the instruction. So suppose if redundant instructions are there, we can avoid it. So next one is the register allocation. That is the fourth one. And the last one is the order of the evaluation, or the evaluation order. So now I'll consider the register allocation. Register allocation is also a very important job in the code generation, because suppose if I'll go for a CISC instruction set architecture, then the number of the register available will be very less. So I have to make use of those registers very efficiently. So wherever possible, better to use only one register and complete the operation. So if it is unavoidable, then I can go use one more register, R0 and R1 like that, then R1 not R1 R2 like that. So unnecessarily don't use the different registers. Okay, if it is unavoidable, then only we have to use a more number of the registers, or with a fewer number of the registers only we can complete our operation. So as an example, now consider this particular this is an 3 address code intermediate representation what you are having. Now how we can generate the sequence of the instructions for this particular intermediate representation. That is nothing but a 3 address code is. So here directly I have written, so it is initially I load this one A into the register R1. So I am loading this A into the register R0, then add that R0 to the B. Again the result will be stored in the R0. Okay, so R0 same register where A is there, I am adding with that to the B. The result will be stored in again the R0. Now what I am doing, again same this T, wherever the R0, here result is in the R0. What is there in the R0? A plus B is there. Again I am using that one to multiply with the C. Therefore same register only I am considering, where the A plus B is there. I am multiplying that one with the C. Again I am storing it in the same register R0. Now again that same T will be utilized here. So again I am using the same R0. I am dividing with the D. Again it is stored in the same register R0. Now finally I want the result in the variable t. Therefore I am storing whatever is there in the register R0 to the memory location, that is t. Okay. So in the entire instruction set I have used only one register. If you want, what you can do, you can load this in the R0, you can load this one in the R1, you can load this one in the R2. If you want, you can use 3-4 registers here. But what we are doing it here, unnecessarily we are not using the registers here. So with only the one single register only we are performing the entire operation, that is using only R0. That is using only R0. So efficient register allocation has to be done. Now let us consider, this is one of the intermediate representation. Which is that one? What is this intermediate representation? It is nothing but an syntax tree. It is also one of the intermediate representation only. Now when I will consider this one, so how many, when I am considering this one, how many operands you are having? A, B, E, C, D. So you can use R0, R1, R2, R3, R4. Means I can use a 5 registers here. So why to simply use a 5 register if I can complete that same operation with a smaller number of the registers? Now I'll try to write the instruction. Now I'll use a different type of the instructional set architecture like this, where we are having move art. Maybe it is an 8086 instruction set it is. I'm not sure about it. So I'll use the different instructional set architecture and I'll try to write the sequence of the instructions. So that is, I'll try to write the target code for this particular intermediate representation, which is nothing but a syntax tree. So it is, first I'll go for this one. So here it is nothing but I'll move whatever A is there in the R0. Move, I'm A moving it to the register R0, and I'll add, sorry, not add, it is subtract. So what I have to subtract? So whatever is there in the R0, that is A, minus B, anyhow result will be stored back into the R0 only. Means here I am using this R0. So what is my R0 now? It is nothing but A minus B is stored in the R0. Okay, A minus B is stored in the R0. Or if you want, you can do what one more thing you can do is, so move whatever is B is there in the register R1. What I did, whatever is there in the B, I have stored it in a one more register R1. Now what I will do, I will subtract. So I will subtract, what I need to subtract? R0 comma R1. So means where is the result now? R0. Means R0 will have this A minus B. R0 will have this A minus B. Okay. Now R1 is free. Okay. Because whatever the content was there, B, it is already added with the A. Now I don't, no more I want that R1. So now R1 is free. Now what I can do is, I can store the C in the same R1. So that is move whatever the C is there in the same R1, because now R1 is free, because anyhow its result A minus B is already stored in the R0. Okay. So R1 is free. So I am utilizing that R1 here only. Okay. So C will be and move to this one. Now I will move the D to an R2. Okay. Move the D to an R2. Now again what I will do, add R1, R2. I am adding C plus D. Now what is this result is stored in R1. Result is stored in R1. Now R2 is free. R2 is free. So therefore I can use move E to the R2. Move E to an R2. E I am moving it to the register R2. Because R2 is already free now. So now E is over. Then what I have to do? Add. Where is your result here? It is R1. Where is the R2? R2 is nothing but E. Therefore it is R1 comma R2. Or R2 comma R1. Anything is fine. So because it is an addition. So now where is my result? My result is in the R1. My result is in the R1. So finally what I have to do? Add R0 comma R1. So I am adding. Finally result will be stored in where? Finally result is stored in the register R0. So this is the sequence of the instruction or the target code what we have generated. Target code here is what? Target code here is nothing but an assembly code, not a relocatable machine code or an absolute machine code. It is an assembly code only. Target code, whenever we are saying it here, it is an assembly code only. Again, this has to be given to the assembler. The assembler will convert that one into the machine code. So now, how many registers we have used? Instead of using 5 register, I have used only the 3 register, but it is unavoidable. Why means, if I am storing it R0 in the register R0, nowhere it is there. So I have to use it, the different register only, because it is totally the different operands what you will be having. Therefore, how many registers we have used here? At most we have used the 3 registers instead of using a 5 registers in order to store the different way. Now let us consider the fifth one, that is the fifth issue, that is an order of the evaluation or an evaluation order. That is also very much important. Now let us consider this particular expression or the statement, and these are the 2 different way you can write the 3 address code for the same expression. That is here what we are doing in the first one. First we are performing a plus b, then c plus d, and then multiplying with an e, then we are subtracting, and the result will be stored in some temporary variable t4. In this order of the evaluation, what we are doing, first we are performing c plus d, then multiplied with the e, and then a plus b will be undone, and then it is subtracted, and the result will be stored back to the t4. But in both the cases, this is the one order of evaluation I have written, this is one order of the evaluation I have written for the same expression, but both of them, they will give you the same result, and the result will be stored in the temporary variable t4. Now we will see how to write the assembly code for the object code for these 2 order of the evaluation. Now when I will consider this particular one, now what we are doing initially, that is a will be stored in the R0. I am adding that one into the b. So result will be stored in the R0. Again I am storing that result, whatever is there in the R0, back to the temporary variable t1. Why? So what we did here, t1, again we have stored that result back into the t1 because we are using the t1 afterwards. Then what we are doing here, c will be moved to the one more register r1, and we are adding the d to the r1. Okay, then as I told you that when we will move the result of the r0 to the t1, temporary variable t1, then r0 register is free now. R0 register is free now. Okay, I can reuse it. So that's why that e will be stored in the register r0 only. Then after that one, we will be multiplying the e and the r1, r0. E is there in the r0, and the r1 will have the result of the t2. So we will be multiplying both of them. Then whatever the result we are getting in the temporary variable t1, what it was a plus b, we are moving it into the register r1, and finally we are subtracting both the r1 and the r0. R0 will have your multiplication result, and r1 will have your t1 result. So we are subtracting both of them, and finally we are storing that result back to the temporary variable t. Okay, now consider this order of the evaluation. So the object code for this order of evaluation. Now consider this particular order of the evaluation. So where we are doing the c plus d first and multiplied with the e, and then a plus b, and then subtraction. And this is the object code what we are getting for this particular order of the evaluation. And when you compare both of them, here 10 instructions are there, 8 instructions are there. So this is a more efficient target code compared to this particular one. Therefore, order of the evaluation also matters a lot. So in order to generate an efficient target code, means this is better when compared to this. Means this order of evaluation is better when compared to this order of the evaluation. So that's why order of the evaluation is also important. These are the 5 issues what I have discussed today, along with the example for each of them, which are very important while designing any of the code generators. Okay, thank you.